Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of Danielle Redlick? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoy this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, a look at the background of this case. I'll move to the timeline of the alleged crime, then offer my analysis. Danielle Redlick was born on November 3, 1973. Her mother married a man named Michael Redlick in 1997. Therefore, Michael was Danielle's stepfather. After Danielle's mother died of cancer in 1999, Michael and Danielle started a romantic relationship. Michael was 21 years older than Danielle. The couple married and had a daughter and a son. They eventually moved into a house in Winter Park, Florida. Michael had a career in the sports industry. He had a master's degree in sports management and a law degree. He worked for several professional teams like the Cleveland Browns and the San Francisco 49ers. He eventually left that line of work and took a job for less money at the University of Central Florida. According to Danielle, Michael was an abusive husband. They both had affairs and were generally unhappy. On June 18, 2016, the police encountered Danielle while she was walking. She was allegedly disorderly, belligerent, and behaving violently toward others. On October 3, 2016, Danielle met an officer at a police station about an argument she had with Michael. She said that Michael pushed her and she needed it documented for court proceedings. Danielle became upset during the meeting and abruptly left the building. On January 26, 2018, Danielle was arrested after allegedly being involved in an altercation at a gas station and assaulting police officers who responded. She was charged with battery, resisting an officer with violence, and disorderly intoxication. The police said that she was the primary aggressor during the encounter with the other parties. She was convicted of resisting an officer without violence and sentenced to 1 year of probation. On February 4, 2018, Michael called 911 and reported that Danielle was a danger to herself and others. She had been drinking, and they had a verbal argument. In March of 2018, Danielle filed for divorce. For a while, the couple lived separately, but eventually they moved back in together. Danielle and Michael were trying to work things out, but it was a volatile relationship. Now moving to the timeline of the alleged crime. On January 11, 2019, just after 8 p.m., Danielle attended her son's youth football game. A witness said that Danielle was yelling at her son because he wanted a haircut. The witness heard Danielle say, "It's been a weird night." That evening, neither of the couple's children were at the family home in Winter Park, Florida. Danielle and Michael were in that house alone. At around 10:30 p.m., Danielle stabbed Michael in the shoulder area with a kitchen knife. Michael died as a result of this attack. At 7:22 a.m., now on January 12, Danielle used her phone to access a dating app. There is a phrase about insensitivity which goes something like, not waiting till a body is cold. It's a figure of speech, but I think Danielle took it literally. I guess her thinking was that she waited for 9 hours. Did people expect her to wait forever before seeking a new love? At 9:28 a.m., she called 911 and said that her husband was deceased and there had been a tragedy at her home. She said her husband was stiff and might have had a heart attack. The dispatcher asked Danielle if she found him in the morning. She said no, actually, it happened last night. Danielle said that last night her husband tried to choke and suffocate her, and she went for a knife. Her husband started screaming, "What are you going to do? Stab me." He then grabbed the knife and stabbed himself. She ran into the bathroom because she was on probation and was scared to death. As she was in the bathroom, her husband was screaming that he was going to send her to jail. Eventually, she exited the bathroom after hearing him moaning. She saw that he was out of it and covered in blood. She attempted to perform CPR. The dispatcher asked her why she did not call 911 last night. Danielle said that she was on probation and she didn't think anyone would believe her. She tried to get her husband to wake up. She fell asleep next to him and tried to hurt herself in the morning. She knew that it did not look good for her. Here's what the police found after arriving at the scene. Michael was dead on the floor in the living room. He had a cut by his left eye and a wound on his left shoulder. There were towels saturated in blood near his body and near the stairs. Michael's shirt had been removed and was in a pile of these towels. A mop with blood on it was found near the stairs. There were circular marks in the blood in the foyer, and there was a strong smell of bleach in the house. There was a blood trail coming from the master bedroom. A large serrated kitchen knife was found on the kitchen floor. It had blood on it. In the trash, there was a McDonald's container with blood on it. A receipt indicated that a quarter pounder and fries were purchased at 9:43 p.m. on January 11. Autopsy results indicated that the stab wound was not self-inflicted. Danielle was interviewed by the police and essentially told them the same thing she explained on the 911 call. Danielle was arrested and charged with second-degree murder with a weapon and tampering with evidence. During her trial, Danielle testified in her own defense. Here's a summary of her testimony. On the day her husband died, the couple had a series of arguments while in their house because Michael found out that Danielle had been communicating with another man. Michael took Danielle's cell phone and she hit his car with eggs to get back at him. At some point, she retrieved the phone. Danielle then drove to a McDonald's restaurant to get something to eat. Michael also left the house. She returned home and was sitting at the table eating. Michael returned to the house and took Danielle's cell phone again. He grabbed her hamburger, took a bite out of it, and spit it at her. Danielle walked to the kitchen, and Michael came up behind her. He grabbed her, and she fell on the ground. He then held her head down on a countertop, and he pushed his fist against her face. Danielle said that he was grinding his fist in her face. She could not breathe, and she feared for her life. Using her free arm, she grabbed a knife from a drawer. She stabbed him one time in the shoulder area. This, of course, represents a change in her story. Danielle originally said that Michael used the knife on himself. This attack allowed Danielle to break free of Michael. She ran into the toilet closet of the bathroom and locked the door. She did not have her phone with her. She simply remained there and was fearful. When she didn't hear anything, she came out of the bathroom. She followed a blood trail to the living room where she found Michael. She realized that he was dead, but she did not know how he died. She wasn't convinced the stab wound was sufficient to cause death. She found her cell phone and tried to call 911, but dialed it incorrectly. She dialed 911, 911, then canceled the call. She sort of attempted CPR. Danielle suggested that after this, she made a series of bad decisions, like deleting text messages and trying to destroy evidence at the scene. Danielle Redlick was found not guilty of second-degree murder and guilty of tampering with evidence. She will be sentenced for the tampering with evidence charge in August of 2022. Now moving to my analysis. Despite the acquittal on the murder charge, was Danielle actually guilty of murder? Many people believe that this verdict ran contrary to the evidence. Let's take a look at the factors both for and against the idea that Danielle was guilty, starting with the inculpatory evidence. Danielle had a history of erratic behavior, including multiple interactions with law enforcement. Various witnesses suggested that Danielle had been violent and angry in the past. A witness observed Michael with a black eye within a few days of his death. Michael told an acquaintance that Danielle was crazy, but as long as he hid these steak knives, everything would be fine. Danielle stabbed her husband with a knife, and he died as a direct result. It's not clear how long Michael lived after being stabbed, but clearly he was alive immediately after being stabbed. Danielle said that she couldn't call 911 because she didn't have her phone, but even when she gained access to her phone, she didn't call for help. Danielle made extensive efforts to destroy evidence of the stabbing, including using bleach. She looked at a dating app before calling for help, so she was able to search for men, but not able to dial 911. This could be a slogan for the dating website. Finding a lover is easier than dialing 911. After about 11 hours, Danielle finally called 911. This was only after she injured herself. Perhaps that is why she called for help. She lied to the dispatcher about how her husband had been stabbed. She also pretended she didn't know how he died, like she was looking at that stab wound and thinking, well, that couldn't have killed him. What else could be going on here? Now moving to the exculpatory evidence. Michael appeared to have more power in the relationship. He was older and earned the majority of the money. When she filed for divorce, he threatened to make her destitute. The day before he was killed, he found out that Danielle was communicating with another man. He was extremely upset and drinking. His daughter said that she had never seen him that upset. Danielle waited outside the house until her son texted her saying that Michael had passed out. This makes it seem as though Danielle was genuinely afraid of Michael. During the altercation that led up to Michael dying, Michael was intoxicated. Danielle's defense argued that she was not intoxicated, but the police report indicated she did have alcohol in her system. A single stab wound on the shoulder is unlikely to cause death. It doesn't appear as though Danielle intended to kill Michael. She may have intended to attack him and to stab him, but not necessarily for him to die. Why didn't Michael call 911 himself? Even if he had died within 5 or 6 minutes, as the police stated, one would think that he would have attempted to call for help. Perhaps he did not call because he was aware of his guilt, like he knew he played a part in the altercation and did not want to be held responsible. When considering all the evidence, do I think that Danielle was guilty of second-degree murder? I think that she was guilty in reality, but not guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I think she was guilty of manslaughter beyond a reasonable doubt. This case is interesting in how the responsibility can be divided into the time before Michael died and the time after he died. Before he died, his behavior was unacceptable. He clearly seemed as if he was the aggressor. After he died, Danielle's behavior was unacceptable. She was trying to escape responsibility. I think what happened here with the jury is that they were unhappy with how Danielle tried to clean up the scene, but they couldn't get past Michael's aggressive behavior prior to his death. So in weighing the behavior before death and after death, they determined that Danielle was less wrong. She did not commit murder. Rather, her crimes were restricted to after Michael died. It was easy to imagine Michael becoming violent and Danielle legitimately fearing for her life. The reason I think she's guilty of manslaughter is because of her attempts to escape responsibility, her own acknowledgement that the situation did not look good for her, and her history of aggression. Furthermore, it's reasonable to believe that when somebody is trying to clean up the scene of a death, they are attempting to hide evidence of their guilt, not of their innocence. Now moving to my final thoughts. The marriage between Michael and Danielle Redlick was probably doomed from the beginning. It really contained nothing but warning signs. For example, the stepfather-stepdaughter dynamic, alcohol use, infidelity by both parties, and violence. If a husband has to joke about hiding kitchen knives from his wife, it may be time to move on to a relationship that involves less stabbing. A relationship with no stabbing would be the best, as this case exemplifies. Here we see that there was a minimal amount of stabbing, but it was still fatal. There is no safe quantity of stabbing behavior. Those are my thoughts in the case of Danielle Redlick. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis on this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.